This is video 903 on fermentation. So how do organisms generate energy when oxygen is not available? We know that when oxygen is available, they will go through cellular respiration, or rather, energy is produced through cellular respiration. Well, when oxygen is not available, the energy is going to be released through a process called fermentation. So fermentation occurs in the cytoplasm. It is an anaerobic process, meaning no energy is involved, no oxygen rather is involved. It follows glycolysis, so you still have glycolysis, and then it goes into fermentation. And it produces 2 ATP. Those 2 ATP are produced in glycolysis. And in the fermentation process, you have NADH, which is produced, and it's going to be reduced to NAD+, and that NAD+ gets recycled back to glycolysis in order for glycolysis to occur. So if you look at the picture that's right here, let's see. Let's look at the picture down here on the bottom. You see where glycolysis occurs, and 2 ATP are produced right here, and then 2 NADH are produced right here. This NADH, when it goes through alcoholic fermentation, will produce 2 carbon dioxides. Carbon dioxide is produced, and then that NADHs lose their hydrogens and the electrons and become NAD+. This same NAD+ will come back up into glucose and be used again to produce NADH. And the same thing happens with the lactic acid fermentation here. Okay, it's the same, it's the same one that's there. But in addition, on the alcohol fermentation, you'll also have carbon dioxide. So there are 2 types of fermentation, alcohol and lactic acid fermentation. And the difference between the two, one of them produces alcohol, and the NADH or NAD+, and then the other one produces lactic acid and NAD+. The one that produces alcohol also produces carbon dioxide. So with the alcoholic fermentation, you have yeast that can do this process, and microorganisms. And by microorganisms, we're talking about bacteria. Alcohol and carbon dioxide are the products, and it's used to produce in alcoholic beverages, bread dough to rise. Here's the chemical equation for it. It's pretty simple. We have that pyruvic acid from glycolysis plus the NADH, and it's going to give you alcohol, carbon dioxide, and NAD+. Most organisms, including humans, will convert the pyruvic acid to lactic acid, and this occurs in the cytoplasm. Again, you'll see this NAD+ recycle back to glucose, okay, and then it's going to be used right there. We'll watch this video in class. So how does the body produce ATP during different stages of exercise? Well, in the very beginning, you have ATP that's already in the muscles, and then that ATP is made by lactic acid fermentation. This lactic acid is also what causes your muscles to be sore. Now, if you have to exercise longer than 90 seconds, or say you're running for 90 seconds, then your body has to change over to cellular respiration. And they use the glycogen that's in your body to go through the cellular respiration. And you know that cellular respiration is an aerobic process. So let's review again. You have small amounts of ATP in your cells, and that's enough to last for a few seconds. And then that lactic acid fermentation is what will occur, and that's enough to last about 90 seconds. Now with lactic acid fermentation, you're only going to get 2 ATP maximum, 2 ATP with each glucose molecule. And And so what your body has to do is you breathe fast or you huff and puff in order to build up oxygen. That helps to clear the lactic acid, and it's also needed to do the cellular respiration. And we know that cellular respiration releases energy more slowly than fermentation. And then for cellular respiration, we get it from the glycogen. And that's enough to last for 15 minutes. Then after 15 minutes of exercise, your body will start breaking down other molecules. Particularly, it's going to be fats. Here's an example of using that. Hibernating animals like this brown bear store fat for energy when they sleep through the winter. We talked about these two questions in class. Hopefully you know the answer to these. We just talked about it. So these guys would obtain energy through fermentation. Okay. What does this tell you about what could cause? And this could be lack of oxygen. So hopefully you saw the relationship between those two.